lines. Lines for rides. Lines for shows. Lines for popcorn buckets. So many lines. Virtual lines. Why is there a virtual line for an omnimover? Don't they know it's designed to never stop? And why is there a line for the escalator?
It's one of the many certainties we face as theme park fans. You want to do a thing? You gotta wait in line. Likely for a good portion of your day. But do you want to know a secret? Come here. Come here. We've been getting spoiled over the last 30 years or so. The bigger names in the industry seem to know that the worst part of waiting in lines is the waiting. So they've designed queues that are just as impressive as the attractions. Still, Disney has a few standard switchbacks left over from a bygone era, and Universal hopes to unleash our inner couch potatoes with the amount of TVs they expect us to pay attention to, but they're trying. However, on some incredibly rare occasions, you'll find yourself having waited hours for an experience, surrounded by incredible theming, only to be disappointed by the attraction itself. In other words, when you have a good queue, but a bad attraction. Now, none of these attractions are necessarily bad. The purpose of this exercise is to point out the glaring disparity between the experience of waiting for a thing versus the thing you waited for. So, let's start off with a bit of a softball. Of all the attractions in Disneyland Park, Mickey's House is one of them. And an underrated one at that. Much like Minnie's House, Goofy's How-To Play Yard, and Donald's Duck Pond, you can walk around inside and be amused at all the decorations, references, gags, and Easter eggs. But because it's Mickey freaking Mouse, it has all of that and more. Your self-guided tour weaves you through his humble abode, past his garden being terrorized by a gopher, and finally into his film barn, where he not only keeps his chickens, as well as his mini props from Sorcerer's Apprentice and other shorts throughout the years, but a whole freaking movie theater. But after that point, you meet Mickey.
I don't know what I expected.
This whole elaborate, beautifully designed queue isn't for a ride, isn't for a show, but for a picture with the second most powerful rat in children's entertainment. Granted, for a kid wanting to meet Mickey, this is a big deal, and is an excellent exercise in anticipation, unless you already met him on Main Street earlier in the day, in which case this whole point is moot. But having been designed with the same motifs as Roger Rabbit's queue, I'd expect this level of effort to go towards something more than... Next! Like, I wouldn't be mad if this was the queue for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway or PhilharMagic, but that wasn't the point. It was to treat a standard character interaction with the same level of respect as an e-ticket attraction, and having it be for Mickey Mouse was a good move. Still, if you're going in blind and expecting something more, then you better be prepared for disappointment. And speaking of disappointment, the Walking Dead attraction filled Universal Hollywood's quota of a year-round Horror Night-style maze from July 2016 to early March 2020. While its predecessors were much longer, grander experiences, and despite its use of animatronics and innovative effects, Walking Dead fell on the shorter side in both amount of scares and overall length. The queue was literally the best part. Based on the pilot episode, you retrace Rick Grimes' footsteps through the halls of the abandoned and derelict Atlanta hospital, coming across evidence of what he discovers as a zombie apocalypse, with blood on the walls, equipment and paper scattered across the floors, and makeshift barricades against doorways, one famously marked, "Don't Dead, Open Inside." Wait. Either way, I found myself going through the queue more often than the maze just because I loved the sheer amount of detail put into it. Also because I was a scared little baby with an anxiety disorder. Shut up. I was excited to see it come back once more for HHN 2021, but even then, that was because it literally hadn't been touched in over a year. And finding something that could feasibly fit next to Secret Life of Pets, even for the daytime, has been something of a struggle. However, even I have to admit that its closure wasn't too big of a loss. Alright, now how about something in Florida that's not only still open, but everyone agrees should not be?
Nah.
Yeah. I got to do the thing.
So, this one is legitimately awful. No one I know has anything nice to say about this. Even I, who can see the good in pretty much everything Universal Creative has pumped out, made an hour-long video breaking down exactly how bad it is in Hollywood. Where I maintain it is worse, but Florida got shafted in a few critical ways. It's one thing for a new attraction to replace a beloved classic. It's another when it requires the sacrifice of two. Yeah, this ended up replacing not only the Beetlejuice show, one of the only representations of the monsters in the park, dumb as it may have been, but one of the last remaining opening day attractions, Earthquake. Or as it was known at the time of its retirement, Disaster. Also, for whatever reason, they chose not to make their version a 3D ride, despite the fact that that's what it was designed to be. I mean, when they beefed up Kong 360 for Islands of Adventure, they updated the graphics a bit, but they still carried over the 3D. Florida's Supercharged did neither, which makes it way easier to film, yeah, but making a 3D attraction 2D destroys a little thing called perspective. So things that should look normal size with glasses on now look absolutely gigantic without them. And then there's the queue. Honestly, it feels like cheating to say that it's better than the ride, but come on. Admittedly, it's just themed to a garage with tool chests and a couple of cars on display, but knowing what's in store for everyone at the end of this line, I'll take it. And taking a much closer look around, they did include a few callbacks to the attractions it replaced. Then everything falls apart once you get to the pre-shows, but the queue makes for a half-decent Fast and Furious attraction that doesn't make you wish for death. Alright, for this next one, it's more of an asterisk, but, well, you'll see. Also, don't hurt me. Wait, hang on. There we go. Alright, so Star Tours is a great ride.
Almost as old as I am!
It was the first non-Disney IP to be used in the park and allowed you to live your Star Wars adventure, utilizing a pretty inventive simulator system. But then it was updated in 2011 as the adventures continue, and that's where the asterisk comes in. Again, don't hurt me. Now, there's nothing wrong with updating a ride if it needs it, and Star Tours was certainly one of those rides. The issue comes into play with the gimmick that it employs: random ride films. Instead of using the same film where the same thing happens over and 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 over again, they separated the ride into 4 segments, with 2 to 3 unique segments each, giving riders 54 possible outcomes, only for more to be added over the years, including slight variations on existing segments. Some are better than others. Personally, if it started with Vader, went to Hoth, got the Leia transmission, and ended with Geonosis, then that was the perfect ride for me. Only later for me to experience the Rise of Skywalker segments, and now that's a pretty close second. Also much better than actually watching Rise of Skywalker. But quite often, somehow, it would always land on the pod race and end with Naboo. Thankfully, the queue is not randomized. Okay, well, maybe parts of it, but you know.
In fact, it isn't too different from what it used to be when it opened in '87. 3PO and R2 are still repairing the Star Speeder, the stripped down America Sings geese are still there, only they're working for the Space TSA. The only new things are a window with silhouettes of different characters passing by, malfunctioning Rex droids in the shipping containers, and of course all the Easter eggs shown on the X-ray screen. Still, this queue always made the Star Wars universe feel tangible, decades before Batuu was even a thing. But waiting in line only to get a crummy combination of films is always a downer. Last but certainly not least, we'll return to Universal Florida for the attraction that inspired this video.
In 2017, we're going to have our very own ride at Universal Orlando Resort. Now, this is real. It's called Race Through New York, starring Jimmy Fallon. That's what it is.
This ride
is not as big a waste of space as Supercharged, but good God, is it mediocre. Now, this was Universal's first attraction to have a virtual queue, meaning it doesn't have a traditional switchback style queue like basically everything else in the park. The idea was you'd go to a kiosk, then grab a return time ticket. Then once it was your time to enter, you come into one room, wait around for a bit, then get the go ahead to move into another room, watch a performance by the barbershop quintet that is usually on The Tonight Show, Panda. Then you'd pick up your glasses, witness what is hands down the greatest safety spiel for any ride, then strap in to see what happens when Play It Safe Comedy meets the Terry Coop School of Theme Park Design.
is it the thing?
Yes.
Make it the simulator!
I even came across this one behind the scenes video where Jimmy is showing country singer Blake Shelton around the ride, and they have this kind of snarky back and forth rapport with each other.
This is going to be fun, right?
I only wanted to perform.
This is going to be fun.
I'm only on your show to perform. Has anyone ever told you that you look like Potsy from Happy Days?
You look like a show on CMT around 3 in the morning, like you work at a gas station.
Here we are, buddy.
This is my ride.
And look, in other promotional videos where he is showing other people around or giving behind the scenes looks at the ride, you can tell he is legitimately excited and just over the moon over the fact that he has his own ride. But the video with Blake Shelton, yes, this is a bit, but he still brings a level of self-awareness that Jimmy and the ride lack.
This is what you worked 3.5 years on. This building does remind me of 30 Rock, which is an office building.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. Wow. This is like being in a shopping mall. Nothing's for sale. You just walk around and look in windows. Clearly, they wouldn't give you a real ride, so we're going to go sit in and look at a movie screen with 3D glasses on. So people stand in line and they watch your show.
And I get it, he was a network veteran. He had just become the host of the studio tour here in Hollywood. But giving him carte blanche on every single creative decision that went into this ride, at least in terms of its content, to this day, still baffles me. Am I the target demographic for this? No. In fact, I just barely managed to fit on it.
Stop making size-restricted rides, Universal!
But I don't see any humor in this at all. I'm sure fans of Fallon's run on The Tonight Show appreciate this more, and if nothing else, I'm glad a New York-themed attraction is back in the New York-themed section of the park. But this is almost certainly the only instance where I can safely say this did not need to be a ride, because the queue is the attraction. You walk into a near perfect recreation of the NBC studios at 30 Rock, a place I've totally been to, and the first room you enter is a beautiful exhibit on the history of The Tonight Show, from Steve Allen to Jack Parr to Johnny Carson, even a tiny display for Conan O'Brien back when he had it for like a week.
This is Jay Leno here.
See, this is what I'm talking about. This is when the show was good, right
They
here.
ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they...
It's
easily the coolest part of the entire attraction. I just wish there wasn't a mediocre ride at the end of it.
I feel you're getting angry.
No, I'm just fascinated.
What's fascinating?
How you ever became famous.
Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you happen to know of any other attractions that really aren't worth their weight, go ahead, drop them in the comments, and maybe I'll do another one of these, who knows? But if irreverent or little esoteric looks at theme parks is what you want out of this platform, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, and more is definitely on the way. However, I have 3 other videos that are going to be released this year over on my Patreon page. Even free members can watch them right now. But aside from getting videos months in advance, you will also see your name scroll by on screen and read aloud by me if you are a paid newcomer. Again, because it's been about 6 months since I did this last, everybody's getting a shout out. And my wonderful cool kids are Bryce McKenzie, Casey K, Chad DeBow, Close to the Sun, Colonel Chrome, Damon Pollitt, Daniel Lindgren, Danny DeCasto, David Gansel, David J. Mann, Dax Strife, Demi Godzilla Z, Dempsey Garcia, D. Gill, Evan Z, Garrett Snook, Ghost Hostess, Ian Cameron, Ian Clark, Isaac232, Jason Pollitt, Julian Den, Jurassic Samurai, Catherine Carter, Catherine Esperanza, Kiji Marie Anastasio, Mark Russell, Mediachi, Michael Ederer, Michael Rose, Molly Piper, Nick F., Robin Trujillo, Rosenthorn, Ryan Hip, Riley Merchant, Spoofaman, Swizzly Bubbles, T-Craft, That Guy Matt, Theme Park Trash, Timothy O'Connor, Toasty Lad, Tyler Campbell, Wave Rod, and XE Hanort. And then we have those wonderful cool cats who give me $10 or more a month. And they are Ashley Hynes, Bennett Billard, Chris Meeder, Danielle Garcia, Gaby Tyrrell, Kooky Trails, Lisa Sturges, Nicholas DePorto, Pander Plays, Tendo the Seal, Tony Goldmark, and Trevor Gumbel. Again, any amount will do. You can cancel anytime or join for free and get the next 3 videos before they go up on the channel in some form or another. One of them's kind of just thrown together all haphazardly with all raw footage. I was too lazy to edit it, I'm sorry. But the next video is going to be coming out next month, and I will be working on further ones for the future. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and as always, Black Lives Matter, trans rights are human rights, stop AAPI hate, free Palestine, stay safe, stay healthy, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and bonus nachos, kids. I'm back, motherfucker.